Hmm, hmm, hmm. And we're live. Hello, 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 my friends. Thank you for joining me. I'm Nicholas W. Fuller, the host of Person Behind the Pages, the show where we get to know the creators that make the things we love. I'm joined today by Jackson Dickert. How you doing, bud?
Doing all right. You nailed the pronunciation of the last name.
Bam! Off to a good start. All right, perfect.
I once had a substitute, and I told her I was because people always get uncomfortable. They're like, how do you pronounce it? It's just pronounced like it sounds, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
I told the substitute, and this was in like the 7th grade, so my French accent wasn't good, but I told her I was French, and it was pronounced Dickert, and she went with that the entire time. So she called me Jackson. No, Jackson.
Jacques Dickert. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to carry that the rest of the interview tonight. We'll see. I imagine around that time you must have got Dick hurt. You must have.
I did. I got a lot of Dick hurt. My name it's one that sounds like there should be a lot of room for a lot of really funny jokes, but unfortunately, the only one that's any decent that anybody ever comes up with is just does it hurt? And it's I have to be like, yeah, unfortunately, it's chronic.
It's always
constant throbbing pain. It's a 10. It's a 10 out of 10 on the pain scale. It's horrible. It's debilitating.
I like that you roll with it. I like when I was, you had like the 7th grade age. The thing that I got all the time was Nick Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Which is not so bad. Not so bad.
Yeah,
that was
doable.
Was also the age though where I learned like my mother is a terrible barometer for what's actually funny. Because I remember specifically like telling my mom a joke and then going to tell my friends the same joke at school, and they were like, "That's not funny," but my mother had laughed.
Yeah, that's brutal. She set you up for failure there.
She really did. She really did. So Jackson, like, you joked with me that you've peaked in high school, which is hilarious, and yet you've written a book. You're a former gaming YouTuber, but you have all those unlisted. You're the chief marketing officer of Campfire, and you're the host of Between Two Perns. Jackson, you must have been a friggin' badass in high school, I guess.
I wore Heelys every day and used that as my platform for winning Homecoming King. So yeah. I've never heard of anybody else wearing Heelys to high school every day and using that to become Homecoming King. So that feels like peaking. That feels like peaking.
Nailed it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always wanted the Heelys. I never did get a pair, but I was like, they seem fun.
They were.
At what point did you decide it's time to retire them? Or have you not? Maybe you were just rolling around the day. I don't know. I don't want to judge.
I was forced to retire them in college because the college I went to had a lot of cobblestone.
Not gonna work.
It's just not ideal.
No.
It's miserable.
Yep. Fair.
There's nothing worse than wearing Heelys in a world where you can't Heely. That's agonizing.
That's funny. So I thought we'd talk first about your book a little bit. And then I'm curious why you've decided to unlist all your YouTube videos from the gaming channel. And then I want to get into a little bit more about Between Two Perns. I am dying to know how you pitch the show to your guests, and maybe a couple other questions. And I want to talk a bit about Campfire and the different things you guys got going on there. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right. So your book. I want to make sure that I get the title right. Hang on. You can help me out.
It's a doozy.
Right? The Quest for the Golden Plunger, The Misadventures of the Adventure Rangers. Solid. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Yeah. And then, so, let's see. June 1st, 2021. Was this a COVID project?
So, not quite. I started writing this book in undergrad because I failed to write an epic fantasy novel. I tried to write one, and it was the worst thing anyone's ever written in the history of anybody ever. And my creative writing professor was like, why don't you write something that's closer to home, something you know really well? And I was like, what do I know really well? And I was like, oh, I know I was a Boy Scout for like
I'm
8
an
years or whatever.
Eagle Scout, right? I saw the picture of
Yeah.
you and Brando talking about your projects. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. So I was like, what do I know really well? I know teenage boys acting like fools in the woods at summer camp, because that's what we did. We acted like fools. So, um, so I
and
wrote,
thus the quest for the golden plunger was begun.
yeah. So I wrote that throughout college, and I finished it in college, and then kind of, it was actually at Campfire, we kind of needed a project to get our feet wet and really learn what are some of the problems that you face when you're trying to publish a book. How does producing an audiobook work? I mean, and what we were like, what better way than just hands-on try it? So I was sort of the guinea pig for us learning the ropes for publishing. It's an unmarketable book. I don't think a traditional publisher ever would have touched it. It was very much written because it was the kind of book that I would have liked to read when I was like 13 or 14, and I did read books like it when I was 13 or 14. So yeah, I'm this way out into the world, so that maybe teenage Jacksons somewhere can enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, my son is 10. Maybe soon.
Maybe give it a little bit. There is an F-bomb or two in there.
I did many years ago. I did a podcast with my father, and like I was just trying to make him laugh the whole time. But like because I wanted to make him laugh the whole time, I was just F this, F that, whatever, you know. Yeah. And I also had the idea that I could share this with my kids someday. But like now, it's like, well, I better keep waiting.
Yeah, and you know, it's technically a YA novel. So I mean, that's always interesting too. People have very differing opinions about the level of cursing that is appropriate for a young adult novel. But
right,
my attitude there's, you know, if you think your 13-year-old boy does not hear or use those words every opportunity they get when you're not around, then
yeah, you are.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know.
Yeah. That's funny. So very cool. I love that you kind of like did it as a way to kind of get used to publishing. It makes me think of Travis Baldree with Legends and Lattes. He kind of just put it out in the world, wanting to like see what self-publishing was like for the authors that he worked with, and then all of a sudden he wrote a hit. So that was pretty cool for him. Was this like a one-off endeavor, or is there going to be a sequel to the quest for the golden plunger someday? You know,
it's something I wrote as a one-off endeavor, but with the characters, I could certainly come up with more. Like, there's no problem at all coming up with more. So it's one of those things where, yeah, I would love to write more for it, but unfortunately, it did not do anywhere near as well as Legends and Lattes did. So I don't know if we'll be getting a sequel unless Book Talk does something.
That was a runaway success, that's for sure. But
yeah,
well, that's cool. Are you ever gonna try to write the epic fantasy that you started?
Probably not the same one.
Yeah,
that one it's dead. It's not coming back.
It's dead, Jim. Yeah.
But I did just finish a 114K word. I guess I would call it an urban fantasy or maybe a supernatural thriller with elements of cosmic horror.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm dipping back in now that I've got my feet wet. I think it's important, you know, to finish a novel, right? To you learn a lot just by finishing something.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like I did learn a lot through writing it, and I think I've written a solid second novel.
I feel like writing books is the only thing that's as hard as it is that somehow we also expect to be good at the first time we do it. Right?
Yeah, I would say so. I remember, you know, as I was writing that epic fantasy, I was like, oh, this is fire. This is great. And then it was like I got like 100 pages in, and I went back and I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. I feel, but also sometimes, you know, I feel like as a new writer, sometimes it's hard to judge what's working and what's not working. Also, beta readers are very valuable. You know, I don't know if you had that experience, but
Definitely. I mean, even the one that I just finished, I got halfway through it and realized this is not working. And it was one particular character that wasn't working, and unfortunately, that was one of the main POV characters. So I had to go back, basically rewrite half of the book to make it work, and
Yeah.
then keep
Wow.
going. So it is. Sorry, go ahead.
What was it that wasn't working about the character? If you can share, I'm very curious.
Yeah, so initially the character, the two protagonists were not related. It was sort of coincidence that brought them together.
Okay.
And it was the female protagonist. She had like a series of bad life events that happened. You know, she lost her job, she got broken up with. It was like a series of bad things that happen that can kind of create a good starting point for a character. You know, start them off at their lowest and then make it even worse after that. And so what I realized, the character wasn't super compelling, and I wasn't happy. It felt like to me there were a lot of coincidences that happened, and the thing that ended up solving it is I scrapped that character and a lot of her traits, created a new character who is a sibling to the character
So yeah, now the fact that the two protagonists are kind of together makes sense because
yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah, so it makes it, I think, more interesting to read about. The brother sister dynamic is much more interesting than like these two strangers who
Sure.
keep running into each other. So yeah,
Neat. Yeah. But yeah, I can imagine like sucks when you kind of figure that out like so far into the project and you're like, okay, all right, we got a lot of work, but it's gonna be better for it. It's gonna be better, right?
absolutely. And it was one of those moments you're kicking yourself. You're like, why am I pantsing? And I ended up plotting it out the rest of the way. At that point, I was like, we're not doing this like again.
Yeah.
So I've always said I'm a pantser, but I don't know what I am anymore, Nicholas. I don't know.
I know
I'm just a guy.
I'm just a guy writing about a girl trying to find their way in the world. Yeah. There was not to keep like Travis Baldry, but in his interview, he said it other places too. But he's like he always wanted to be a pantser and like have this beautiful like transcendent experience of just magic flowing. And he's like, no, it's not. It's not that. It's not. I need a plan, and it's amazing how much fucking easier it is when you have a plan. You know.
Yeah.
It was good.
Travis is a smart guy. He's irritating actually because he's talented at so many things. It makes me mad. It's like, what?
I agree. I
just need him to be bad at one thing. Just one thing.
Right. Yeah. And even sings a freaking part of Legends and Lattes, and it's pretty good. And I'm like, what the hell? Get out of here. Of course, he used to make video games, which is pretty damn cool. But like, you know what? His kids don't think he's cool at all.
And that's just the price of parenthood, right?
Well, true. And listen, my 3-year-old thinks I'm awesome, at least, you know.
And I feel like the shift happens somewhere around like 8 years old. That's when they start thinking like, I'm smarter than you are.
No. My daughter's gonna think I'm cool always, Jackson. Okay, all right.
Okay. Sure.
Thanks for coming with me on this. I appreciate
it. Just like your mom thinks you're funny.
Damn, good. I like it.
Yeah.
Got me. All right. That's funny. All right. So wrote the book. I love I think it's awesome that you're continuing to write. Clearly you don't have to. You got a pretty cool gig and whatnot, but that's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing that book someday. Do you have any plans for release date, or is it very much like when it's done?
It's done. It's edited. And now I'm kind of sitting on it, trying to decide what do I want to do with it. Whether I want to go self-publishing or try to publish it trad. And either way, those are things that take an extraordinary amount of time, especially to do right. So I'm kind of sitting on it right now because, frankly, I haven't even had time to play Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't touched it. I've been doing all these interviews and everything. So I stay pretty busy.
Yeah.
So
have you I get the sense that you're a bit of a gamer, right?
I am absolutely.
Have you played Helldivers 2 at all?
No, man. Anything that's come out basically after last August, I haven't touched.
Yeah. I mean, no, you started Between Two Ferns a little before that, right? Or no?
It was September. Technically, the first episode was recorded, I believe, at the end of July last year.
Word.
But yeah, they started coming out in September.
So let's jump into Between Two Ferns. Let's go. Well, no. I'm actually gonna go a little out of order because you said that you're debating, like, self-publish or how you want to do things with the latest book, which I do find surprising, sir. Because what you should be saying is, I'm gonna go publish it on Campfire, right?
And here's the thing, right? If I go trad, then absolutely I'm gonna hold on to aspects and make sure there's things in my contract to allow for that, right? So it's definitely something where it's like, if I go trad, it's for the benefit of Campfire to some extent.
Oh, okay. All right. Sense. Sure. You kind of bring some like legitimacy of like, oh, I'm a trad publishing, but I'm publishing on Campfire too, right?
Yeah, trad.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
On the Campfire.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. Well, so let's take it back a little. You're in college, you wrote this book and whatnot, but also from the about on Campfire, it sounds like that was the time that you became the chief marketing officer of Campfire. But this wasn't yesterday. This was a little while ago, right?
Yeah, this was almost 6 years ago now. It's 5.5, I guess.
And so you knew the guy that made it, and it sounds like, again, from the about page, you were like, yo, you need a chief marketing officer, make it me.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I didn't even know the guy. That's the best part.
Really? Wow.
That's awesome. It's one of those stories where like it should have failed. Like, this shouldn't have worked. On paper, it doesn't work. I literally reached out to a stranger on Reddit and was like, this thing you're making is cool, and I think we can help each other. And so he paid me $100 a week for the first 2 weeks, and I convinced him.
Did you make this post on r/slave labor?
r/slave labor
for what? Yeah. For Reddit, there's a Reddit subreddit called Slave Labor, but like $100 a week is I was joking. That is not chief marketing officer wages normally,
No, it's not, because at the time I wasn't even like chief marketing officer yet. That was still like this random guy that
you were some dude we're trying out.
And so sales were pretty slow before I came on, and then shortly after I came on, sales started to improve to the point where kind of earned the title after the 2 weeks, because like I said, sales were slow. So it was like $100 a week. This guy, I think at the time, our total budget was like $4,000 that our CEO had saved up from waiting tables and that sort of thing. So it's not a story of like, we got a whole bunch of funding and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was two kids pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and making it work.
I love bootstrap tech companies so much more than the venture capital. Like, you never had to answer to anyone about what your exit strategy is.
Yeah, and that's kind of the beauty of Campfire, right? Is we don't have to answer to anybody. We're not making decisions based on what gets our board the most amount of money or something like that. We get to do what we want. We get to do what we think is best for the community or the software or whatever. And so far, it seems to go pretty well.
Very nice. So, for anyone that hasn't really heard of Campfire before, give us the pitch. What is Campfire?
Yeah, so Campfire is a writing and world building software that kind of helps you take all the different facets of a story, and you can store them. You can organize them so that it's easy to go back and reference them. So we've got like character sheets, timelines, magic systems, all this type of stuff. And then recently we've added a way for people who use the writing software side of things to actually publish their book on the platform, and they can sell the book on the platform and make 80% royalties. And so what's even cooler that like Amazon or nobody else has is the author can also put those background world building elements on Campfire as like an upsell, basically. So your reader might pay an extra $2 and they get access to all the cool art, all the cool like background lore that maybe didn't quite make it into the novel, right? Because you have tons of authors who say stuff like, every side character has a backstory. You just don't get to see it. And it's like, well, I want to see it. And so this is kind of a way that whenever you have this cool world building background that doesn't serve the story, the readers can still get it.
It's really neat. I like that concept.
Yeah.
What so the publishing side seems really interesting, but also kind of a bold new endeavor, because in many ways you're targeting like a different market, right? Because you're targeting readers, not writers.
Right.
Of course, you have to have the writers too, but you sort of probably have already worked on that part, What, I want to say what made you want to go in this direction, but that obviously that seems kind of obvious, like it's a huge market and whatnot. So let me instead ask, who do you kind of view as your competitors in this publishing space? Are you you gunning for Amazon, or are you like kind of trying to maybe be a counter to something like Royal Road?
For me, there's one competitor, right? Because it's a monopoly. So Royal Road isn't even on our radar, right? And not because Royal Road's so small or anything like that. Like everything that they're doing is awesome. There's a ton of amazing writers coming out of Royal Road, and there's people who have had their careers made. And so when I say they're not on our radar, I don't mean because they're so small or something. That's not me throwing shade. It's because, if anything, I see them as an ally, right? And I've never spoken to anybody at Royal Road, but it's one of these things where it's like, if Royal Road ends up being the ones to rise to success and get Amazon to give authors much better terms and things like that, by all means, that sounds great, and if some audiobook competitor is the one that rises up instead of Campfire, because we're planning on adding audiobooks this summer, then so be it. That's great. Somebody to give Audible a kick in the shins. So for us, it's very much just Amazon, and it's always kind of been Amazon, and that's a big, bold thing to do. And it's a hard thing to do because it's a monopoly.
Right. Plus, there's lots of reasons why trying to take on a tech monopoly is very difficult, but kudos. I'm excited. That sounds awesome. So right now you're just publishing all right, what is going on, bud?
Oh, is that?
I do hear rubber chicken.
Taken care of. We put the dog down because of you.
There's no more dog. I hope you're happy.
He was a cute little pug, man, and you made us do it.
Oh yeah, Yeller's gone. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying before the rubber chicken fiasco of 2024?
Wasn't that bad. It just, how often do you get to talk about a rubber chicken? Anyway.
It's true.
Have you my mind. Okay. So, Amazon. You're just doing ebooks right now, right? As far as publication on Campfire?
Yeah, and audiobooks later this year.
Right. So you mentioned 80%, which already is better than Amazon. Amazon, unless they changed it, last I looked, it's like 70% if you're within that like $2.99 to $99 window, and then 35% otherwise, I think.
Yeah, I think it changes, which I will give them a little bit of slack there, because we even right now have to kind of limit people to, I think the lowest you can price your book on Campfire is like $1.99 or $2.99, because I think it's $1.99, because once you get down to 99 cents, we would literally lose money on every transaction, giving 80% royalties, because we would have to pay fees to the credit card companies. Right. So we will be adding in the next few months a way for authors to do 99 cents, but we will have to lower that royalty slightly because it would be sad to go out of business because we tried to be good.
Yeah, right. No. That makes sense. That's totally fair. Is there an option for authors to publish for like and make their work available for free or no?
Yeah. Authors can make their work available for free.
Nice. See, like, so I am planning to put a work on Royal Road, and I'm like, well, what are like some other platforms that I want to go publish to? You know, I'm thinking later this year I'll do Royal Road. I've got Scribble Hub on my radar a little bit, so I would like, as chief marketing officer of Campfire, why should I be bringing my story to Campfire and making it free there too?
Making it free there too. I would say the biggest draw is the extras, right? Because you can make, these character pages. Like I said, we have like 15 different modules. You can have calendars. Where else can you have calendars? Which sounds lame, but it's actually
no. I could see that totally working for like certain types of stories, like maybe like a heist, and like the like a calendar of like how their prep, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I gotta say, out of all of our features, the calendar is very impressive and in depth because like you can make weeks as long as you want. You can name every the days, different things. I mean, it is.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
everything that you would want a calendar to be.
I like it.
But yeah, it's all those extras would definitely be the reason to publish on Campfire. What's really cool is you as the author can set when those extras are revealed. So you don't want somebody to be able to go look and read about the Dark Lord before you get there in the book.
Oh, I see.
Spoils
okay.
who they are or something. So you can hide that information to reveal it at the appropriate time. So at the end of a chapter, it might say like, you have revealed 3 elements, and then you can go click them and read about them, the available information on there. And I think it's nice for a couple reasons, even just beyond like the cool factor of like getting to dig in more to these characters. But for me, right, like I have ADHD, so it's not unusual or far-fetched for me to pick up a book and then put it down and then come back a month later. And so it's really nice to be able to go and read, okay, wait, who is this person again? Like you just have this really easy spoiler-free place that you can go get refreshers on whatever you want, which is really nice.
That's cool, man. That's really clever too, that you can unlock things at certain times. I wouldn't have even thought of doing that, so nice.
Thank you.
Just other like ideas. Have you done any consideration for having support for interactive narratives, like sort of a choose your own adventure style?
We haven't yet. We've become a lot more careful in recent years of like the stuff we add and kind of what direction we go in, because like it's feature bloat is a thing. You end up with so much stuff, and then you'll end up with features that nobody uses, and once you add a feature, it's really hard to remove the feature. So we're trying to really focus on the things that people want and people are like asking for, and I don't think we've had a ton of people asking for that sort of thing, even though I think that sounds really cool.
Right? Yeah. No, I haven't seen a lot of it either. And like, there's only like a couple instances where I've like really seen it done in a really compelling way. But when there was one in particular that I was like, I shout all the time, but it's called Lifeline, and it's a phone app. And what made it super cool is like this character Taylor is crashed on a spaceship, and you have to help Taylor kind of figure out how to survive. But when you make a decision, Taylor's like, okay, I'm gonna go do that thing, and then you don't get more of the story for hours. But then because it's a phone app, you get a push notification. Taylor's either like, oh, okay, I made it, or it's like Taylor died. So you get this period of tension where you're not sure how your decision affected the character,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I could see the hardest part about trying to do something like that is being like, to do it right, where it was really interesting, you'd end up writing 20 books.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah, doing writing an interactive narrative is its whole thing. And you need to have branches complicated. And not the not the same as a linear normal story. But anyway, but yeah. I love what you are doing. You know, I love the extras. That's a really cool idea. I could so see that working with so many like, you know, epic fantasies, because they have so much world building to them. Very cool. Talk to me about audiobook. I can't imagine that you're planning to do 80% on audiobook also. I don't know if that's something you've talked about, but
What if I told you, Nicholas, that we're planning on doing 80% on audiobook?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no reason not to, man.
Really? I mean, okay, fair. Like, how's it gonna work? Let's okay. I want to publish my story later this year. I want to, again, I'm planning to bring it to Royal Road, but I want to do an audiobook eventually. So how would it work? You know?
Same way every other audiobook platform works, right? You upload it, you kind of
Okay.
upload each chapter individually, and you name them, whatever, and you publish it.
And
That's it.
you do the thing. Come
There's
on.
yeah, there's no credits. There's no you pay 4 magic tokens to get 5 wonder tokens, and you can convert those to books. So now it's you, the author, set a price, and the person pays that price, and so
And you get 80%. Wow.
yeah.
So you must be doing some kind of minimum price so that you don't lose money on transactions.
Yeah, we'll do a minimum price the same way, so we don't lose money, or do the same thing where it's like we'll lower the royalties
Okay.
appropriately if at a certain price. But kind of the attitude that we have, right, is like a lot of other places don't let authors set the price of their audiobook, and that's crazy. That's ridiculous. Somebody else is going to tell you the value of your thing that you're selling, that you paid people to create, that you paid the sound engineer, or that you made from scratch yourself, however you did it.
Right.
And they're going to tell you how much it costs. And historically, right, audiobooks are extremely expensive.
Yeah.
But maybe, and this is just me spitballing, maybe they are expensive to produce, but maybe the reason they're so expensive is because the royalties are so bad.
Yeah.
So one thing that we fully expect and kind of hope for is we think that authors will end up setting their audiobook prices to be pretty reasonable on Campfire. I don't think they're going to set it to be $30 because yeah, they stand to make a lot of money from a $30 purchase, but if it's lower, they'll get a whole lot more people, and they'll still be earning more than they did on Audible.
Right. Right.
And we're also planning on bundling ebooks with audiobooks, because it's like, why would you not? You've already got the product. You're gonna make them buy it twice? That's stupid. So that's
stupid.
It's stupid.
What the fuck are you doing?
This guy. So right now it's just mandatory. If you publish an audiobook, the ebook is also free, bundled with it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board with that. Have you guys made, what's the experience like as a listener? How, like, obviously you purchase and whatever, you get the files. Where can I listen to it?
Right there on the Campfire app.
Right on the Campfire app.
Yeah, and it'll all be DRM free as well, so you can take it elsewhere if you want to. We're just trying very hard. It's like sometimes it's easier to do things right than it is to try to be skeezy, scummy. How can I make old Jeff more money? Sometimes it's just easier to be fair to people.
I mean, fair, but I don't know. Like, I always assumed that a big part of the extra cost was because of the file size and the data transfer, but maybe that's not as big of a problem, especially these days, as I think it is. I mean, like, BookFunnel is trying to get into audiobooks also, but like that's been somewhere that they've sort of dragged their feet, I feel.
Yeah. I think I think a lot of companies don't necessarily know how to do tech well. And we are fortunate in that all we have done for the last 5.5 years is tech. So like we've got good people, we've got experience, and so I mean we've been kind of getting things into gear for this for about a year. So
Sick.
Yeah.
So then, like, okay, I talked about it from the listener perspective, and I love that it's kind of integrated on there. I love that you're going to bundle in the ebook also. I think that that's, a fantastic policy. From the author perspective, do you have anything like ACX that's going to try to help connect authors with narrators?
Right now we don't. I think we'll maybe take a harder look at more social features, kind of like that, down the road. But right now, there's a lot of places that authors can go to find
Sure.
audiobook narrators to work with.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Man, sick. I'm excited now. But yeah, and like
sick. I'm gonna put that on the front page of the website. Nicholas W. Fuller, sick.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, look, Mom, famous. And she'll be like,
Yeah,
he's so proud of you. And then everyone else will be like, she's a bad barometer. That's good. Man. Yeah, so like, I mean, how, you're kind of going for Amazon. I think you're doing the right things. How much have you, like, if things go very well, how much have you guys planned for best case scenarios,
in what way, in what manner?
Like if 1,000 authors came to you on day one and said, I'm going to upload my book, can you handle it?
Well, I mean, it's already up and going. So like, yeah, if 1,000 people came tomorrow, could we handle it? I would say yes. From a technological standpoint, yes. From a human standpoint, there would be, I think, a brief hiccup, because right now you can basically publish your book on Campfire, and if you want to monetize it, there's a check for various things, right? We've got like various regulations and rules to make sure that people are posting the kinds of content that's appropriate for Campfire. I guess I'll say. And then we also want to make sure that people aren't just uploading AI stuff, right? And there's not.
I was about to ask, what's the Campfire position on AI works? Yeah,
whether they're not. Our official stance is you cannot sell these works on Campfire, and so if you go on Campfire, there are authors who have like AI art as part of their project as free projects, and that's it's something that we don't like, we don't encourage, but it's like they were doing it well before we monetized it. But right now our attitude is like with it's sort of this weird gray area right now. Who owns this AI art? So you can't sell it if it's a legal gray area. So no published projects can have anything like that. We'll just reject it.
What about AI audiobook narration?
AI audiobook narration. That's actually one that we haven't talked about yet, but I kind of think it'll be along the same vein, right? I know a lot of
whoever is doing Wheel of Time. We're like, oh, we're gonna make this AI friggin' property, whatever. But there's some publisher that's like looking at doing more AI narration, which I would much prefer people, right?
Yeah, and I was actually talking to Travis over the weekend, and he was talking about he's not worried about AI audiobook narrators, because the fact of the matter is you can't teach a robot how to put emphasis on the right words. They're not going to get the emotion for a scene right. So while there are spaces that are going to be disrupted, stuff like textbooks, yeah, you don't need a human being to read you, theoretical physics on an
Right.
emotional. Those will undoubtedly be affected. The people who narrate those, but when it comes to fiction, it's the same as my attitude for AI written fiction. I'm not worried about it as a threat.
See, and I think that's true. And if I was Travis, I wouldn't be worried either because he's amazing, as we know. But if if I was a publisher and I already had people that had AI generated covers, which is I don't think I don't think I've seen an AI generated cover that's as good as a Felix Ortiz cover.
It's a high bar too.
Right. I mean, yeah, he's great, but people are doing it for covers, especially for the freely distributed stuff. I could definitely see people doing a lot of the AI generated narration, but we'll see. Maybe it won't be much. And yeah, I mean, certainly if they do it, I think they're going to be sort of giving themselves a ceiling because it won't be the best production that it could be.
Right.
Interesting. So, okay, how long have you been able to read the stories on Campfire? Was it since last summer, or was it more recent than
that? Been able to read or been able to purchase?
You can answer either or both of those. I didn't realize that there was a difference. Yeah, I guess you've been able to read for a while, but purchase has been even more recent. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
You've been able to read on Campfire for a couple years now, maybe three or more years, and then been able to buy stories starting in the fall. We opened up to a limited number of authors, and then January 1st we opened it up to everybody.
Sick. So if I'm looking for an awesome grimdark fantasy, actually, what if I want a grimdark sci-fi? How do I go and navigate Campfire and find myself a badass grimdark sci-fi?
Okay, so every book, they come with tags that the author can put on them. So this is actually really cool. You can put tags for the genre, for the book itself. So you can include themes and tropes and that sort of thing. So if you're looking for a found family novel, you can search by the tag found family. So in your case, you could search by sci-fi and grimdark and see everything that's tagged as sci-fi and grimdark. Now, I don't know if we have anything that qualifies as sci-fi and grimdark on the site right now. We've got a lot of cozy fiction, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Royal Road has lit RPG and progression fantasy, right? And it's you're not getting those writers away from there. That's where the readers are. That is the home of lit RPG and progression fantasy. And so we have been talking to a lot of cozy authors lately to bring them in, because it's a newer genre. They don't quite have a home. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's yeah. I find that dynamic really interesting. The way the different sites sort of have their own, almost personality that way, right?
Yeah.
And
it's same thing with getting you're not going to get the romance writers off of Kindle Unlimited, right? It's that's where you go to read romance.
Dude, who is writing on Kindle Vella? Is there anyone that's on Kindle Vella much?
I think they were. Last I heard, I think are they even still really pushing that? I
don't think they're pushing now, but
yeah,
but it's still there, I think, right?
Yeah, because it's hard to walk back a feature once you put it in.
Yeah. All right. So I see, fantasy. I see the medium anthology. Well, I also see Bo in the chat trolling me a little bit. Did Nicholas get roasted yet? No. Jackson's on my show. He wouldn't dare, except that he did make the joke about my mom thinking I'm funny, which was actually quite good. Yeah. So this,
so you've been out kind of
pounding the pavement trying to bring cozy fantasy readers over to Campfire.
Yeah, cozy fantasy readers and writers. Yeah, so
Right.
if you go on there, there's a lot of cozy fantasy, and there's a lot more on the way.
That's really cool, man. That's pretty neat to kind of niche down that way. But obviously, I mean, clearly the plan must be start there and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, right?
Yeah, because it's like, anything you want to start out in a niche and then kind of expand outward from there. So if we just were trying to get a little bit of everything, it would be much harder to pitch to people and to pitch to audiences. Hey, you can read. We got some fantasy. We've got some grimdark sci-fi. There's one of those. Then we can be like, yeah, there's a lot of cozy fantasy. If you like cozy fantasy, you will find something that you will like on Campfire. We have enough of a variety there.
That's rad. Bo and anyone else that's joined us a little bit more recently, of course, I'm talking to Jackson Dickert and Dickert.
Dickert.
Right?
Yeah, you nailed it. It's French.
It's French. That was from the beginning of our little chat. Anyway, and Jackson wrote a book, and he's written another one that's going to come out sometime, which is kind of exciting. And he, of course, is the chief marketing officer of Campfire, and that's a lot of what we're talking about now. And we haven't even really gotten to talking about Between Two Perns, but we will. So and Bo, Jackson's gunning for Bezos, man. He's coming for him. For him.
Oh.
80% royalties on audiobook for the author. That's amazing. So, but I guess like in that instance, like because I don't know, like when you do ACX, I imagine that you know this, Jackson. When you do ACX and you're doing, well, I guess there's the two options on how you pay for it. You can pay for the narrator up front, like a one-time fee, or you can do like a little bit of a royalty split with the narrator. If you do that royalty split, that's still coming from that 35% that Audible's giving you, I think.
That yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So they're taking. Yeah. They take a giant chunk, and you instead are going to be giving away a giant chunk of all the money here.
Yeah, and they hide everything about it behind what we were talking about earlier. Oh, you trade one wizard token for one happiness token, and then that equals 5 cents in Korea. It's like yeah. I could not possibly explain to you all the different ways that their calculations work, and I don't know if the people who work there could tell you either. So at Campfire, it's very simple. The author sets the price, and then they make 80% of that price on all their sales.
Sick. Here's a really weird one for you. I have no idea. Okay. Will White, Cradle series, sold tons and tons and tons of books, right? When the last 3, I think, of the Cradle books came out, he was number one on all of Amazon on release day because tons.
Yeah.
And yet he was never a New York Times bestseller until he sold enough audiobooks. So you can become a New York Times bestseller from audiobook sales straight on Audible. Have you even begin to consider like, I have no idea like what reporting might be like to New York Times or whatever for them to build that list? Is that something you've thought of or looked at all? Or I mean, I don't know that I would if I was like, I haven't launched it yet, but just
right. Yeah, no. It's not something that we're worried about yet, just because a lot of indie authors, that's really not where your concern should be right off the bat.
Sure.
Like, oh man, should I get on? When you publish your first book, the harsh truth is you're probably not going to be on the New York Times bestseller list. Like whenever you finish your first book, you're like, this is the best thing that's ever been written. Of course it will go on the New York Times list. It probably won't. It's very rare that, even seasoned authors get there. Right. And so our goal is not necessarily to make sure that the fancy people can hit their New York Times list as so much it is just building a platform for the everyman, for the regular author who wants to see can I make a living doing this, and we're trying to make that more accessible, making a living writing.
Yeah, which is super cool. The extras that you talked about, like the calendar and that sort of thing, is it sort of, well, or does the author have control of whether that's like bundled into the ebook price or if it's like a paid for extra, or how does it sort of work?
Yeah, the author sets the price for that as well. So
Okay.
it can be a nice little upsell, of $1 or $2, or whatever they want to make it. There
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
people who are selling their extras for $5. It just depends on, how much perceived content is there on behalf of the author.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bo says New York Times bestseller is nothing more than snake oil. Granted, but listen, if you become a New York Times bestseller, it becomes your new first name. It's just like it still has value in marketing. But I'm more interested in who's winning the Pern of the Year award. What, Jackson? There's a Pern of the Year award?
I'll probably give it to myself. I feel like I've earned it.
I've been here for the most episodes.
Yeah. Nobody else has come back. They all say, "Screw you, dude. That was terrible. I'm not coming back on your stupid show."
I'm not doing that again.
Golly.
All right. I think I've beat the horse of a campfire enough. But I mean, genuinely, this does sound really cool, and it sounds like too, for someone to, again, that's like if you're posting on Royal Road right now, why wouldn't you also post on Campfire? I think, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you're gonna go wide, why not go wide on Campfire too? Right.
Yeah. Put it as many places as you can for the best chance of success.
Right. Right.
Before you get
And
locked in with Kindle Unlimited or something.
If you're gonna do an audiobook, think about putting it here because 80% royalties. Hot dog, man. Like, damn,
that's no joke. It's no
that's
joke.
no joke. That's legit.
That's legit.
But let's get in, Jackson. Let's talk about Between Two Perns. So, Bo would vote for you. I don't think there needs to be a vote, but I feel like the votes are going to be rigged on that, and it's going to be Jackson's vote matters, and that's it.
If you voted for someone else, I would count it for me.
So, I mean, kudos to you. I feel like it's sort of, there's a few people out there doing interviews, and it's hard to make waves, but you freaking made waves, man. You came out with gunning. You got that first interview with Brando Sando and off to the races. So well done.
Thank you.
Obviously, Between Two Ferns is the inspiration, but what made you think I'm going to do this with authors?
Yeah. So funny enough, the summer before, I did the first interview. I was writing satirical articles just for the hell of it. I was writing just the dumbest stuff. But I think I even wrote one about Brandon Sanderson should not be worried about AI. Brandon Sanderson should be worried about court stenographers because they can type so freaking fast. So weirdly enough, and this goes to show, if you ever have an idea to just do a weird project or something, you should do it because you never know where that's going to take you in the future. I have done so many jobs and have acquired so many random skills over the course of my life and so many of them have come back to help me. So the idea actually was initially I was just writing funny little posts about, this sort of thing. And when I got the opportunity to interview Brandon, I was like, oh, should I ask him about his world building advice? So that way, I can talk, see how it relates to Campfire. That's what the Campfire writers would need help with. And I'm a huge Sanderson fan, so I've watched his interviews, and I've consumed
listened
everything.
To Writing Excuses, yeah.
I've listened to Writing Excuses twice, but that's a whole other story. And so I was like, there's no question I can ask this man about writing or world building advice that he has not answered a million times. So I was like, my brain always goes to humor. And so that's why I was like, all right, this is where I'm going to take it. And hopefully Brandon Sanderson doesn't hate me after this.
Okay, so like one of the things I wanted to ask you was like how you pitch the show, but like that's one thing. Now that the show has been out, it sounds like you didn't tell Brando what you were gonna do.
No, I absolutely did. I
Okay, okay,
absolutely
okay,
did.
okay, okay.
So I sent his team. So I wrote the questions for Brandon's interview, most of them that day. Like I said, I did pull some from the articles that article that I'd written previously about it.
Mhm.
I'd had some ideas there, and I thankfully had a very good base of knowledge about Brandon Sanderson, and I literally wrote it like that day. Because I didn't know I was going to get a chance to interview him until that day. And I was like, I cannot squander this opportunity, of course. So while everybody else watched a movie, I was over there typing away, thinking of the dumbest possible things I could ask this man. And so I sent the questions to his team, and his team said they read over the questions, and they were like, yeah, this all looks fine. But just in case, they took it into a meeting with Brandon, and they read him one question. And I don't know which question it was to this day. But they read him the question, and he laughed. And it was a green light from there. So
Okay.
he kind of knew what he was in for, but there is
Yeah,
still there's some amount of anxiety because I don't know the people ahead of time
yeah,
very
yeah.
well. And it's always possible you ask the wrong thing or you say the wrong thing and royally piss somebody off. But thankfully
I
that hasn't happened yet.
could not believe. I didn't know that this was the case, but I couldn't believe you said to Mary Robinette Kowal, like, and you're the only person that's been like fired from the Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America like president job, and she was like, "Yeah, you know what? It worked out better for me." I mean, she's lovely and wonderful, and she'd probably just like shrug off anything. But like, oh my god, you're chutzpah, dude.
I love Mary Robinette. She is
Yeah,
absolutely one of my favorite people that I've met through the show. She is delightful. She is a
yeah,
delightful human being, and she is hilarious and so
yes,
talented.
yes.
And her cat can talk, and that's really cool.
She is the only person that like I pay for her uh uh Patreon writing course, and
Yeah,
like and part of it's just so that I can like ask her a dumb question once a month, like just
yeah.
yeah, she's awesome. So like, okay, did you have the name Between Two Perns when you did the first one with Brando?
No, Brandon came up with it.
Really? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So we were sitting there, and they were like, "Wait, what's the show called?" And I was like, "What's the show called?" I wrote these questions an hour ago. What's I was like, it's called Between Two Ferns, Author Edition. And Brandon was like, hang on, how can we make this a pun? And we were sitting down on the couch to
Oh my
record
god.
this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he thinks, no joke, for half a second, and he goes, Dragon Riders of Pern. I've got 2 copies of it in my library. Can you run up to my library and go grab 2 copies of Dragon Riders? And the person ran up, came back down, and if you look in the background, there's like blurry Dragon Riders of
Yeah.
Pern
Yeah.
in the background.
I love it.
So
Between Two Perns. There it is.
So he came up with it. I can take no credit for that.
Dude, like, I mean, I was already like a Brando fan as a person, like, but that just makes me even more of a fan of him as a person. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's really what I love about this show is how many times I've heard people say that, like that these episodes make people see parts of authors they don't usually get to see, and it just makes them love their personalities, get to know them more. I think
Right.
is the most beautiful part.
That's interesting because like that's something I wanted to do with this show. That's why this is called Person Behind the Pages, because I wanted to kind of get to know the person a little bit, and I thought that would be interesting and fun. But I feel like in general, hang on, Bo says that Brando gets his vote for Print of the Year. I think that's fair. That's fair.
Unfortunately, I've taken the vote that you voted for Brandon, and I have reallocated it toward myself.
Boink. Thank you, Poe. Appreciate that. What up, Sam? Thanks for being here. Yeah, so like, it's interesting because I find it very interesting getting to know the people and whatnot. But I also feel like, the algorithm, right, makes it easier to sort of make like writing advice focused content and that sort of thing. You know, I don't know, like, but I imagine like for you that this show has to be number one goal is that it's fun because I mean that's how you started doing it and whatever, right?
Yeah. Fun is absolutely the goal, to entertain, to make people laugh. And if people get to learn more about an author or get exposed to a new author or decide, hey, they've been a really good sport about this guy making fun of their book and it kind of sounds like fun based on what they've said, go get their book.
Go get them. Yep. Sam says I missed the beginning of the conversation. Start everything again from the top if you don't mind.
No,
Hello, my friends. Thank you for being here. I'm Nicholas W. Fuller, and this is person.
He didn't say hello to me. He just said hello to you.
You did.
We're not restarting for this guy.
It's been an hour. I'm not doing this all again.
No, if he had said, "What up, Jackson?" Too little, too late, Sam.
Too late. Gotta think about who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Right.
Too little, too late, Sam.
Got him. So how do you pitch the show now to Mary Robinette Kowal? When you reached or Fonda Lee, I think you said on someone's Discord that you were going to talk to her. like how do you tell them, hey, you want to sit down? Let me make fun of you.
I send them an email, a very nicely, carefully crafted worded email, and I tell them, hi, I'm Jackson Dickert. I do this show. It's basically Zach Galifianakis between two ferns, but for authors. Yeah. Though I generally try to be less mean-spirited. I don't always succeed at that. Sometimes I am mean-spirited, but it's I try to make sure that I'm more mean-spirited to the people that I think can handle it, I guess. Sometimes that's just the way the script comes out too. Sometimes they're mean-spirited. I'm like, this is just funny, and hopefully they'll be a good sport. But thankfully, I haven't gone over the line yet, so I don't think I've made any arch nemesises. But
have you gotten a no? I suspect at some point you're going to get like a thanks, but no thanks.
Most of the time, if it's a no, people just don't respond. Okay. I've of course reached out to some people who haven't responded.
Okay.
At various cons, or I do these at cons a lot of the time because that's where all the authors are. So I've literally been traveling about once a month, sometimes twice a month, to go to cons. I would be happy if I never went to a generic blank city name Comic-Con ever again. That would actually be great. But a lot of times these authors have crazy busy schedules and they just can't make something work. So sometimes that's the case too.
This is the true life confessions of a chief marketing officer for a company for the last 5.5. I don't want to go to the cons anymore. Meanwhile, I'm like, bro, I want to go to Dragon Con so bad. I want to go to World Con.
And to be clear, I'm not talking about Dragon Con, World Con, Dragon Steel. I'm talking about insert city name Comic-Con. The vendors who go to one are usually at the other ones too. So it's once you've been to Emerald City, Phoenix Fan Fusion, C2E2, it's like I'm seeing the same vendors at every single place.
So that's kind of, I thought I'm only surprised that one a C2E2 is that seemed big to me, because Brando went to that one, right?
Yeah,
I expected that one would be in a different sort of but I guess maybe not. So as someone who hasn't been to too many cons, I used to go to MegaCon in Orlando every year when I lived in Florida, and that was pretty fun. But I've been to a couple cons locally in North Carolina since I moved here, but they're not very bookish. So what are some of your top cons that are bookish?
Definitely Dragon Con is up there, and Dragon Steel. Those two are probably the most bookish. Yeah. At Dragon Con, all the writers and readers, they all meet up in one place every night after the con, and Dragonsteel, the whole thing is just books.
Right.
Every other con is kind of a mishmash of like voice actors and movie actors and authors and everything else. But yeah.
You could never get enough fake ninja swords. Direct cons are a great place to collect them. Like,
You're not wrong. You can get the same sword at 10 different booths.
But you can never have enough. So you get all 10 and then you go to the next time. No.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And TSA, they freak out whenever you try to bring it on the plane. They freak out. I don't know why.
That's funny. Who is your your dream guest for Between Two Parents that you haven't landed yet?
Oh, my dream guest for Between it would have been Brandon Sanderson, of course. But
you went out of the fucking gate with that, so that
Yeah. I think Jim Butcher could be fun. I think Nicholas Eames could be fun.
Oh.
I think
I just got a yes from Nicholas Eames from my show. I'm excited.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
That's awesome. Right. I'm hoping maybe I can corner him at Worldcon and be like, "You're gonna let me make fun of you."
Yeah.
N.K. Jemisin would be really cool.
Nice. I want to talk to Andy Weir.
Andy Weir?
Yeah, that would be pretty fun. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that would be really fun, wouldn't it? I bet a Between Two Parents episode with Andy Weir would really be something.
I don't know. You should do it.
Maybe I'll think about it.
All right, I'll have to check that out. Nice. Is there how many total interviews have you done now?
Oh,
and do you like? I don't think that you quite put them out every week or whatnot. You kind of put them out as you can, right?
So I did every week for like the first 6 or so. I think I was doing them every week, and I was like, this is unsustainable. Both in terms of the amount that I can do, and editing them takes an extraordinary amount of time.
That is the reason why I transferred to doing them live.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. It's like, I mean, sometimes researching people to write the questions can take 15 hours, and then editing the episode can take 15 to 24 hours. Like, that's not unusual. So I switched from doing them weekly to I was doing them every other week. And then Mary Robinette Kowal was sort of the unofficial season finale. In reality, I have 4 recorded that have not gone live, and they're not edited yet either. And I have 5. I have 5 recorded, and then I have 7 more that I'm doing this week. So I mean, I'm about to have a ton of episodes, and I haven't actually announced this on my channel yet. I was going to make a video kind of announcing this, but half of the episodes are half of the episodes are going to go up on Daniel Green's channel. So they'll go back and forth between mine and his starting in September weekly. So that'll be cool.
That's really exciting. Are they going up on his main or on his new Shoveled Goblin channel?
On his main.
Wow. Okay. Look at you. Yeah. That's sick.
So should be cool. Should be fun.
Who's picking the half? You or him?
Like which skit put where?
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to Daniel.
Yeah.
Because it boils down to, it's a very expensive show to produce, as you can imagine. I have to fly to cons. For instance, let's say I was gonna interview Andy Weir.
Let's say that such a crazy thing may possibly have already happened to be one of your 5. Maybe.
It's hard to say, but if I was going to interview Andy Weir, I'd have to buy a plane ticket to go to the city where Andy Weir lives. And then I'd have to get a hotel where Andy Weir lives. I'd have to Uber to Andy Weir because I don't live in that city and I don't want to rent a car. So it could easily cost, $2,000 for one interview. You know? And yeah, if I got the chance to interview Andy Weir, then $2,000 feels like a small price to pay. But the show is only sustainable for a certain amount of time if it doesn't make a certain amount of money or get a certain amount of views, right? So I hope Daniel's channel will help with that, because as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't even need to profit, right? If it could just start breaking even, that would be ideal. But who knows? And then Bo, I will be at both Dragon Con and Dragon Steel this year.
Nice. Are you you mentioned that you do a lot of your recordings while you're at the cons. So how does that work? Like, do you must hit them up and be like, hey, I'm going to be at this con. Do you want to get together? Do you kind of schedule it at a time that's like a little before or after the con, or are you doing it sort of like mid con and you guys just sneak away to somewhere to record?
It really just depends. A lot of times it's sneak away to record because a lot of times, authors have fancy dinners or something to go to in the evenings. So a lot of times it's sneak away during the con, which can make for stressful episodes. Like Christopher Paolini, that's the one time I've ever
I love that moment where I think you said Rule 42 and your gears are turning and you wrote down the thing, you're like, his publicist is going, no. It was so good, dude. It was so good.
with his episode, it was my nightmare. That was the one time I've ever had technical difficulties with getting the wireless mics to find each other and pair correctly. So there I am sitting there in a room with Christopher Paolini for 15 minutes when he's got a tight schedule, and I'm like,
you're like, I'm gonna get this working. Just hang on. I'm gonna get the yeah. It never happens to me. I'm just nervous.
Literally, that's what I kept telling him. I was like, it's never happened to me. So a lot of times, it's sneak away during cons, and finding a place to record is always a nightmare and or expensive. Like all the Dragon Con ones were all recorded in a hotel conference room, but they make you pay for the full day of the conference room. So it's like,
you're like, could you all come? Like, can we just everyone on this day at different times, please, and thank you. Right?
That would be ideal, but it just never shakes out like that. So I'll end up shelling out $400 to make sure I've got all 4 days just in case.
Yeah. Have you how much have you had people come to you and be like, yo, I want to be on the show, and you're like, man, thanks, but
I've had a couple of people asked to come be on the show, and it's a mixture of factors, right? I have had really big authors that I have had to turn down for an interview because they couldn't make an in-person interview work.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't think the show works digitally, right? There's
interviews are I couldn't do it. I can't, with a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old and my 7-year-old mother living with me and whatever. It's 4 dogs. There's no way that I could. But they do work better in person. I think you're right.
I don't even think it's just interviews, right? I think this as a format works just fine. But something like comedy, where it's the timing is so important, and being there with the person, I think is really important. And so I had consulted a lot of friends and people who knew comedy really well, and they all were like, I don't think it works virtual. So it's a combination for small authors. It's a combination of we have to be at the same place at the same time, but it's also really hard for new authors. If you've only got one book out, then
what do you poke fun at?
Either I have to read the book and hope that I can get enough material from it, or you need to have an extraordinary digital footprint, so that way I can find material to poke at, like you say. So it's a kind of a combination of those two things. In my perfect world, people will watch the show because they know I'll write funny questions and I'll make it funny. And they'll get views regardless of who the author is. And then that way I can use it as a platform to showcase smaller authors. That is my dream scenario. But it's like, we're not there yet. And these take such an extraordinary amount of time. Like I said, there are episodes that, they could take a total of 40 hours to produce between research, editing, shooting.
Yeah. So you're spending like $2,000 per episode plus 40 hours per episode. And like, yeah, like you said.
Well, not quite 2,000 per episode. That's why like going to cons is great. Because if I can get like 8 interviews at one con, then it's like, yay, this is much more, makes much more sense.
Where are you going that you're talking to 7 different people?
So tomorrow night, actually, I will fly to Phoenix Fan Fusion.
Okay.
And then
I do pick up 10 foam swords.
Yeah, I'll pick up 10 foam swords. I'll try to take them through TSA. They'll tackle me. It's this whole song and dance we keep doing with each other. I'm banned from United Airlines, by the way.
I think the agents must just like you, Dickert Jackson.
I think so too.
I think they do. They're just like, oh, he's back. Gotta be time for another pat down.
Yeah. One time I went through TSA and they thought I was the We Rate Dogs guy. We look startlingly similar. I'm not gonna
lie. Really. Yeah. How disappointing for them.
I know. I get George Clooney sometimes too. That always feels good.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Very, very. Yeah. Just put you in a suit and spitting image. You know.
Spitting image.
Maybe some tequila. You know? Yeah. Perfect. Let me see. Just consulting my notes. Oh, I do want to ask, this is very random, but you used to do a YouTube channel where you were playing Skyrim, like gameplay and whatnot. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about that. How long were you doing that? And then why did you decide to unlist all the videos? Is it because you had to be professional as a CMO?
Yeah. So, wow. I started making videos, I guess I was in the 6th or 7th grade. So I was probably like 12 or 13.
Okay. Oh, this is a minute ago. All right.
This was a minute ago. It was at the height of PewDiePie, Let's Plays, all that stuff. And I was like, I can do that too.
Yeah. So your parents are like, whatever.
They did not believe. They were like, this is a waste of time. My mom was supportive, but my dad was like, this is stupid. What a waste of time.
What are you doing?
And so I started doing Let's Plays, and at some point, I got really into Skyrim, I guess like everybody else did in 2011. And I started making these videos debunking myths about lore and in-game events and stuff like that. And for some reason, those videos popped off. They got like 500,000 views each, and it was it was during peak YouTube before PewDiePie and the bridge incident happened, and we lost like Starbucks and Coke and Johnson and Johnson and Ford as advertisers, and the CPMs started going down. So it was like I was kind of in there during the golden age of when you could really make money if you were getting views.
You were making money on YouTube when you were 12.
Not when I was 12. That was probably more like when I was like 14, 15. But
wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Now you're losing money on YouTube as an adult.
Yeah. It's a circle, man. It all comes back in the end.
All right. So you're making 500,000 views. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. They did really well, and I was in some ways I was a stupid kid, and in some ways I was much smarter than I am now, because I was a stupid kid in that I stopped making these video essay type, debunk myths type of videos, but it's because I wanted to make Let's Plays, because in general that was a way that I could play video games and feel productive about it. And if you could play a video game and be able to post it online with minimal editing and have people watch that a bunch, that's ideal. If you tell a 14-year-old, you want to come home after writing essays at school all day and write a bunch more essays, and make this thing that like I said, I have ADHD. I like instant gratification. So as a teenager, the big projects that take several weeks to complete, and then I get the dopamine and the likes and the comments, then that's not great. So I focused on Let's Plays, and over the course of probably 7 or 8 years, I made 2,000 videos on that YouTube channel. And so it wasn't around the time that I became a CMO that I enlisted them. It was probably around the time that I started publishing books that I enlisted them. And it was just because when I was 13, right? That would have been pre-2012. That would have been like 2010 or something. So that was a very different time in terms of like some things you could say online, right? When I was 14, we all called stuff gay, and we meant that it was bad when we said it. That is what we all did. If you lived at that time, that's what you did. And obviously I've grown and changed a lot as a person. I've become more worldly. I have a lot of really wonderful friends who are part of the LGBT community. And so even though like I'm 100% confident, like I think that's the worst thing I ever said, right? Like I wasn't the type of person to curse a lot or to say anything much worse than that. But calling things gay was pretty commonplace. And so obviously I can't go back and rewatch 2,000 videos and see which ones did I say something was gay in, meaning derogatory. So I just unlisted them all. I felt like that was the most responsible thing to do. And to be honest, I wasn't that proud of most of those videos anyway. They weren't that good.
I mean, who among us has done something when we're 13 that we're like, as an adult and be like, well, that was great. I'm glad that I spent my time doing that thing, But
exactly.
Yeah. But I hear you. I definitely, you kind of grow up around that time, say some of those things, and now it's like, that was maybe not the best,
Yeah. I mean, it's we can say it was a different time back then, but like it really was. We all said it, and I would hate to continue to push this kind of harmful thing. So.
Right. Well, good. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's a right call.
We were all homophobic in 2010.
Now you get to make fun of authors on YouTube, much more fun.
Much more fun.
Right? All right, Jackson. This has been a delight. It's been wonderful to chat with you.
Oh no, terrible. We're ending it on homophobia. This is not great, Nicholas.
What I meant to say was, what else can you tell us about the upcoming features for audiobooks on Campfire?
What do you want to know about the audiobooks? I told you so much.
You were going to be able to listen on the app, which is fantastic. 80% royalties, fantastic. Upload the thing, it's fantastic. We talked about being able to read on it, also fantastic. So it's 80% royalties for uploading your ebooks. Is it 80% also for like the supplemental material?
It sure is.
What is it like? Talk to me a little bit. We haven't talked at all actually about some of the like writing features on Campfire. So tell me a little bit about some of the writing features on Campfire, please, Jackson, please.
Oh man. The manuscript is kind of your standard word processor, but it's got some really unique tools in it. You can, for instance, tag things by using like the @ character, and so if you've got a character named like Nicholas, for instance, you can tag Nicholas as you're writing your manuscript, or it'll automatically tag if you have that setting on, and you can hover that character and pull them up in a sidebar. So you know how like sometimes you're writing and you're like, what is this character's favorite color, or what's their eye color, right? Like if that's something you haven't thought about in a long time, but you don't want to like go back and mess yourself up. You can pull it up in a sidebar and you can reference basically anything as you're writing. So that's a really cool feature that the actual writing tools have. and then we're working on some more coming up. People have keep yelling at us that they want to be able to look at their chapters in like index card view type thing and be able to move those around. So that's something that we're presently designing and getting just right. So
that is a cool feature on Scrivener. Right.
I guess people are. I truth be told, I've never touched Scrivener.
Never really? Wow.
Really, I've never touched it. Never.
The surprise, as a chief officer on this competitor software, I would expect you to kind of, but that's all right. Whatever.
I think
you're actually going to tell me you never opened Word. Now I'm going to be like, get out of here.
No, I use Word and Google Docs. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam's a fan. Campfire is actually a fantastic world building tool, especially if you have a lot of lore, intricate magic systems, made up words, stuff like that.
Thank you, Sam. You've redeemed yourself today.
He did come back and say, "What up, Jackson?" So like he was trying.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Sam. Yeah. No, I saw it. That's when I yelled "too little, too late."
You're welcome. I got you, Sam. I got you. Bo wants you to talk to me and 14 other indie authors that are debuting either this year or last year. So
we'll do it on Among Us. We'll all just get on Among Us, and then like I'll roast you right before I kill you.
Can we do that? I would be so there for that. Say it like that. Actually sounds really fun. Among Us was a good game. I like Among Us.
Yeah, it would have to be like Among Us or some, I don't know, some kind of hide and seek game where it's like I found you, and then like right before you kill the guy.
Yeah.
Your book was trash, son.
but then
I'm gonna break into your skull.
Yeah. But then we would know like who the imposter is. It's Jackson. Right. He's running around killing us all. I mean,
yeah. So that's why it would have to be like a game where it's like more of like just a hide and seek type.
Yeah. Type of deal. We'll workshop this. This.
There's got to be a Fortnite mode for this or a Minecraft mode. It's out there.
There's something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited, Jackson. I mean, lots of cool stuff. I'm looking forward to more of your interviews. Like I said, like some of them have really had me laughing, like that Paolini one. It's fun that you're doing it. I admire your chutzpah to just get up in their face and be like, just totally trolling them. Well done, sir.
Thank you very much. I have fun doing it, and thankfully, it seems like they have fun doing it too. So
yeah. All right, where can people find and follow you online, please, Jackson?
It's at Jackson D Author.
Oh, not Jackson Dickert. Did I lose you in the
letter D?
Okay. I don't know which one of us is slowing down.
Oh my gosh. I blacked out, but I'm back.
Were you like binge drinking before and like it finally hit you and you blacked out? No.
It was a sneeze. It's every time I sneeze, the Wi-Fi and the general vicinity all goes out. My neighbors hate me, dude. It's a story for another time. It's a story for another
poltergeist living inside of it? All right. We'll discuss later. Anyway, Jackson D Author on Twitter,
and Instagram. I think that's the same. It's the same on YouTube. I've got a Patreon to check out. So if you're somebody who loves the show and hates the idea of me pouring money into a pit called Delta and for a hotel thing that I'm staying at, then by all means come give me $1 every month so I can make fun of your favorite people.
Is it on the Patreon where you have like just 20 minutes of you and Dirk Ashton eating paper?
That's just public. That's on
YouTube. That one's on YouTube.
Yeah. That's on YouTube. Anybody can watch me and Dirk eat paper.
I love that you titled that one like Dirk Ashton is so weird. That was pretty funny.
Dirk's a great guy. He's a
guy. No, he's dude, Dirk is. I mean, book people in general are great people, but like Dirk in particular is a gem among many. You know, I mean, he's a standout, wonderful dude. Yeah.
Don't tell him I said that though.
No, not at all. He's
No.
Fletcher writes all his books. You know.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So Jackson the author online. And I'm sure there's people should also check out Campfire too, right?
Yeah, definitely check out Campfire. If you're interested in a cozy fantasy, especially, we've got a lot of cozy fantasy books on Campfire. If you would like a lighthearted read about teenage boys at summer camp, and it's very funny, and there's poop. Literally, there's a storyline where it's like we have to figure out who shit in the shower. If that's your level of like literary, if you're a real, fancy guy who highbrow reader, that's
pinky out.
Pinky out. Yes. Then you can check out The Quest for the Golden Plunger. It's got comedy, but then it's also got somebody I don't remember who, but somebody said it is a poignant look into the minds of teenage boys. I think like Kirkus or somebody said that. So I was like, nice. Okay. Not just poop joke book. So if that sounds up your alley, if you were a Boy Scout, honestly, if you were a Boy Scout, just pick up the book, because you'll be like, wow, this is like a biography or an autobiography of your time that you spent in summer camp. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, Jackson, thank you for being here. I hope we get to talk more in the future somehow, some way, maybe in Among Us, but we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, man, sounds like a plan. Thank you very much for having me. It was a ton of fun, and thanks for letting me ramble about stuff for an hour and a half.
No, my pleasure, dude. Thank you, everyone in the chat, Sam, Bo, everyone else been around. Appreciate it. Thanks to you all for watching. And if no one's told you today, you're an absolute legend.